All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the State of the Town of the Town of Olive. And I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. And it feels a little like spring today. I know it's going to get colder again, but it's looking pretty good out there. And I want to thank the Olive Library for all the generous hospitality and hosting this event we do annually. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the passing of a longtime West Shokan resident and friend, Sam Adams. Sam was the co-author of the Shokan Catskills and Natural History, and he was known to have a deep knowledge of the natural environment in Olive, especially with his collection of moth species, and was known for his work with Cornell and New York State Museum. He was a doctor, a farmer, and a very interesting man who will be deeply missed. So let's have a moment of silence for Sam, please. Thank you. I think the most appropriate place to start tonight is to recognize the wonderful work of the staff, the board, and the friends of the library have accomplished during the past year as they continue to make the library better and better. You know, it started out with this beautiful room back here. They now have a branch at the American Legion Hall in Shokan, which is really wonderful. If you haven't visited it, you should stop by. It's a cute little branch there. They also have renovated the basement here and have a maker's place for people to be creative. And the Friends of the Library hosted music nights during the year here that were, if you haven't done them, they were great. They had like local musicians, really talented group, different people. Every, what was it, monthly, I believe.
Yeah, it's starting up again in March.
Yep, starting up in March, that's great. And it's a really great night out. It really is. It's a lot of fun and there's a lot of people. It's usually packed and they have food, friends make food, and you can give a donation if you feel like it, and it's great. So I encourage everyone to stay in touch with the Olive Library for all of the great programming events that they have over here. On the topic of appreciation, I'd like also to thank the Olive Fire Department for the volunteer service they provide each year. This winter has been especially challenging with the cold weather and the heavy snow conditions that we've seen. These volunteers respond on average 5 to 6 calls per week, volunteers. So if you wish, you can go to the Olive Fire Department website and donate. Show your appreciation. Thank you to the Olive First Aid for the great service they provide to the town with their fast response times and the professionalism with which they carry out their duties. And a big thank you to the numerous volunteers who work tirelessly on the various boards, councils, and committees to meet the needs of the town each year. Thank you to all the volunteers who deliver Meals on Wheels. I saw Tom here, he was doing it for a while. And without them all, we wouldn't be the great town that we are. And I really think that we should appreciate them and show their appreciation every chance we get. Some new happenings in town this year. In late 2025, the town elected Kim Daly as the new town clerk, as well as 2 new board members, Sarah Hemingway Lynch and Edwin Maldonado. I see Edwin here. Put your hand up, say hi. I see Kim sitting over there. She's always filming me. I don't know why. I don't see Sarah. Sarah's not here, right? Congratulations to these new public service and good luck. And Kim, in her role as town clerk, has instituted new policies for the town, including the recording of town board meetings, instituting online payment options for property taxes, a monthly newsletter that you can sign up for on our website, and providing notary services at the town office, along with our newly appointed deputy town clerk, Pam Peltzman. The recordings of the town board meetings can be found on the new Town of Olive YouTube channel that Kim set up.
Jim,
Yes.
can I just say that Kim also provided notary service for some of my elderly clients at home.
And she will go to your house and do it. Thank you. Contracts for the Shokan Sewer District were signed last month. Work on the project is already beginning. You might see them out there clearing land and doing some tree work. They've been putting some ribbons on trees and things. If you see that around Shokan, this nearly $90 million project will serve over 500 properties in Shokan, funded entirely by the New York City through the Catskill Watershed Corporation. If you're in the district and have not returned your lateral agreement, I strongly encourage you to do so at your earliest convenience. The property owners have been notified of this twice now, and they are required to hook up to the system, and this is your only chance to do this for free. So please don't not do it. The comprehensive plan was funded by a grant from New York State, is nearly complete, and the town board looks forward to adopting it very soon. An advisory committee was appointed in 2022 to work with the planner on developing the plan. The committee was made up of a diverse group of residents from different areas of the town, newcomers, generational families, teachers, artists, members of the town board, and the Olive Conservation Advisory Council. The comprehensive plan is like a snapshot in time. It identifies and documents the characteristics of the town and makes recommendations for future decision-making. Some issues of importance that came out of the plan were preserving the rural character of the town, affordable workforce housing, hamlet and economic development, flood protection, transportation, and recreation. I encourage everyone to visit the town website and take a look at the draft of the comprehensive plan. And a special thank you to Deputy Supervisor Drew Bodges. Raise your hand, Drew, in case they don't know. And the volunteers of the Comp Plan Committee for their tireless work over the last 3+ years. It's been a lot of work. If you look at it, it's very, very, very deep. It's got a lot of depth and it's got a lot of angles they look at the town. So thank you all for that. A few years ago, the Housing Committee was formed after the town received a grant from the Ulster County Housing Smart Community Initiative to address the issue of affordable housing, workforce housing. With a professional planner, it's made up of residents, some of whom personally and professionally experienced the housing shortage in our area. The committee has spent hundreds of hours researching the issue to find possible solutions for affordable workforce housing that best fit in the town of Olive. It is the intention of this year the committee will complete its work and draft code for consideration by the town board that will creatively address this problem in our town. Excuse me. The focus is to limit the size and scale of the housing so that any new affordable housing integrates well into our community and maintains the rural character of the town. The town is undergoing a local flood analysis. We had one done in 2017, and this is a newer version, which includes, it updates areas in West Shokan and includes Shokan. I'd like to thank, this is being funded by the Shokan Watershed Stream Management Program. And I'd like to thank Leslie Zucker and her staff for the work they've done in the town over the years. And you've seen new road crossings going in, culverts and things. There's a process that when I first got in as supervisor, we implemented where the Shokan Stream Management Program would do all of the necessary preliminary work for design and analysis of streams, and then often the funding would come from the Catskill Watershed Corporation. And so we've got a number of projects done in the past few years, and also I want to thank the Flood Advisory Committee for their work on this LFA, and to thank the local resident Heidi Emmerich, environmental planner for the Ulster County Department of Environment, for her work with the town on the LFA and other flood issues in the town. So the LFA identifies flood locations in Shokan at the Butternut Creek Crossing and the Bostock Road and Red Maple crossings. In addition, they're studying the stormwater issues in the area of Black Road. So in that area of Red Maple, if you go up the hill on Black Road, there's a mountain behind there and the water comes down through that development and it creates a lot of problems on the streets and on local properties. So we're looking at seeing what recommendations this plan can make to the town and to homeowners on how to better maintain their property to protect theirs and help their neighbors. The LFA will then also looks at the expanded area in West Shokan. There was a previous LFA that had mapped area in Shokan that they look at, and they said there was flooding here and there. We've expanded that area into other areas where we've recognized flooding over the years, and that plan will also look at Lang Road, which is over there, behind the post office, and That will, I'm sorry, I lost myself here. The LFA will identify the areas of the flooding. They'll look at the problems, what's causing it, what can be done, and then they will make suggestions on methods of flood mitigation for the infrastructure and the properties that might be affected by it, and identify potential sources for funding to mediate this. Last year, Olive was awarded a grant from the New York State EPC Hudson River Estuary Program to create an open space inventory and plan. A small committee is being formed to work with the Olive Conservation Advisory Council and a professional planner to identify and inventory areas of open space in the town. The completed plan will help guide the community on future land use decisions, again, to maintain the rural character of the town. The Olive Conservation Advisory Council has been busy these past years. Through their efforts, the town received about $100,000 in grant funding from the Climate Smart Community Program to insulate, provide heat and air conditioning to the town meeting hall, and heat and air conditioning to the American Legion Hall in Shokan. These were done with heat pumps, and that grant came from the Climate Smart Community Program. These projects saved the town considerable energy costs during the last year, and the OCAC conducts ongoing energy efficiency sessions during the year for town residents to learn about opportunities to save energy. New York State DEC has acquired land in West Shokan, about 1,300 acres off of High Point Road, and they presented that plan at a meeting this past week. That land will be open for public use. So the town is in discussion with DEC on how it plans to manage the land, and we recently sponsored that public information earlier this week. You can go on our website or on the DEC website, and you'll be able to make comments on what you think are issues that surround the public use of this land. A lot of things that came up were, would there be a trail? Would there be a trailhead? Would it be attracting large numbers of people? Would there be parking lots? Would the local roads sustain that? Would the local character of the neighborhood sustain that? But DEC's position is that this is public land and the public has the right to have access to it. So the kind of question is, do we put a small parking lot and try to contain the amount of people that visit there one time? Or do we, the other alternative would be that people can't park there, they park elsewhere. That becomes a nuisance. And if they're not able to park at the trail, they might just park and go up the side of the mountain, which could be environmentally more damaging. So it's a tough issue to address, but that link will be on our website. If it's not on today, it'll be on in the next couple days. And you can make comments up to, I think it's March 25th. At that point, they will review the comments, create a draft plan for this, and then that will be presented to the public, and there'll be another period of comment for that. So get your pencils out and comment, I guess. Our recreation program is running well, thanks to the tireless work of probably the best employee, like the hardest working employee in the town maybe, is Gene Sorbellini. He is our recreation director, and also with the volunteers on the recreation committee. We will begin our 6-week summer program this summer, and continue our program for children from kindergarten up to age 14 at Davis Park in West Shokan. Program runs from July and August, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. A modest fee is charged, and busing is provided for children outside the immediate West Shokan area. Adult recreation includes seasonal softball, volleyball, basketball, art classes, and adult swimming hours at the Petosi Pool at Davis Park in West Shokan. Check the town website for more details and activities. And of course, the pool will be open again this summer, so please don't hesitate to enjoy the many opportunities provided by the Recreation Department. They really are a good program, and they work hard at really getting people out and off their phones. In 2023, Olive received years ago, Olive received a $290,000 grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Fund to design the flood buyout properties in Boysville for public use, and to create a small demonstration site on one of those properties. As a result, the town now has an open space area in Boyceville on the Esopus Creek behind the IGA, where the former Stuckey embroidery building was located. There's a perimeter fencing, a pathway around an open field, and benches to sit and watch the stream flow by. There is no swimming allowed at the site, and I hope you're all able to get a chance to stop by there and enjoy the stream when the weather gets nice, which I think it's going to get nice. That's all I got for now, like updates, what we've been up to. I will open it up for questions, which I'm sure you all have. No? All right, I'm leaving. Mr. Wolf, how are you today?
I'm fine, thanks for asking, Jim.
There you go.
I want to talk about, or mention the assessment, which you didn't mention last year at the State of the Town, because a month later we got a letter in the mail. And I had a 40% increase in my assessment, which hopefully everything's the same. But I was also told at the time that New York City's assessment only went up 16%.
Right,
So, which is a big chunk of our tax base.
right.
So, why? Why aren't they brought up with us?
Mhm.
And at the time said, well, everything should remain the same. Right now, between my my general tax and my school tax, I'm paying $1,200 a month more. It's $1,200 a year more, $100 a month more.
I was gonna say, if you're paying $1,200 a month, you get a nice
No, I
house.
wouldn't be here, but, you know, so I don't think the town was very fair, not even mentioning it in your State of the Town address last year.
Okay,
But I'd like to know, are we gonna raise their assessment up? And so the people that did get hit, I know some people it wasn't the same, because maybe their assessment may have been higher, and that's their business. But when I brought all this stuff to the assessor's attention, you know, I thought I was pretty fair about it. But again, when I got hit with those kinds of tax increases, that was a pretty good shot. And then also, you just mentioned about energy savings in the town. I sat there at one of the last meetings of the year when the town council had discussed about what energy company they were going to buy from. Now you're buying sustainable energy, everybody knows it's more money, but then on the other hand, you're looking at saving money, you know, by replacing whatever windows, insulation, this and that. At that meeting also, you bought 3 new vehicles. None of them were hybrid, electric, or anything. One of them was for the rec department, probably sits in the, you know, in the winter time. So no talk about that.
great.
And again, I spoke at that meeting about it too. When I flip that switch, my dirty energy is the same as your green energy, but I'm paying now an 8% increase in the town taxes also, as you're making it sound like you're saving money, but you really aren't saving money for me.
Mhm.
So those are my 2 points for
Okay.
This
Was
year.
there a question?
no,
Okay.
they were comments. Hopefully you'll look
That's
at it.
fine.
I mentioned them, you know.
That's good, and we can talk about that later, if you know, if you want. Did that little girl have a question? Hi there. Any other questions, comments? Yes?
Thank you for your talk. Will the text of your talk be available on the town website?
I believe that Kim Daly is going to put it on there. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, sure. Any other things? Yes,
Do you
Ed?
have any information on the bridge by the dividing weir?
The bridge by the dividing weir. Yeah, that's another issue is that New York City has a $1.2 billion infrastructure program in and around the Shokan that should be happening in the next 10 years. Okay, it's very preliminary stages. They've been analyzing the Route 28A corridor. They'll be replacing, I don't know the number, but it's a lot, dozens of culverts and stream crossings across the 28A roadway from Boyceville to the Nissan lab where the aerator is. So that's a tremendous amount of work. It also included in that work is to replace the valves at the headworks, which I believe they started the preliminary work on already. The bridge will be going in across the lower basin was the last design I saw, parallel to the existing bridge. The existing bridge will stay down, but the dividing weir will remain intact, is my understanding. That is going to take years to get to, but it is an ongoing project, and that was the last I heard is they're going to continue to do that. It'll also include changing the buildings down at the campus by the aerator. We're gonna put some new buildings up. One of the things I asked them was, I hear a lot of people who always complain about, we live in the New York City watershed, we have this reservoir, and when our power goes out, we can't get water because we have wells, and they're gonna have a potable, I've asked them to put a potable water supply in there during those times to keep that open. And yeah, so they're ongoing, but you know, Ed, how New York City works, it's very slow moving. Yes?
Comment on the changes of the roadway and so forth around here. I hope that they're considering putting more lights along the roadway. Not to light the place up so it's gonna be harmful to the animals and the environment, but it's hard for older people to drive at night on these roads with all the curves and things, so just some kind of a soft light that isn't going to, you know, that's my point.
Thank you. Thank you, Al. Yes?
I just had a quick question on the sewer project. The easement agreement was put in place for our property before we bought it.
Yes.
And we just received our letter of agreement earlier this month. I've been going through questions with the engineering team and also the attorney that was listed in your letter. But because we're kind of in a tight space to get that agreement in, I'm wondering who else I can ask questions to, because there's a lot of differences in, I guess, the answers that were being given.
So what I suggest is you call my office, tell me what the issues are, I'll call the engineer and the lawyer, try to see if I can work it out.
Okay, sounds good.
That's the other thing, you know, like, if you, any of you have any information, if you want to know anything about going on, like what's going on in the town that I haven't mentioned tonight or you might think of later, you know, our office, call me, I'll set up an appointment with you, I'll talk to you on the phone. Drew and the town board, our emails are available, you can reach out to us. We'd much rather you learn the information from us or coming to our board meetings than hearing it on social media, where most of it is inaccurate and it's a little bit hyper on those things. I don't go there because if I were to go there and answer the things on social media, I wouldn't be doing any of this work that we've done. I'd be on social media answering questions of far-fetched ideas. So that's my encouragement to you all is to reach out to us if you can. Yes?
Jim, if I have it right, when the aerators were replaced a number of years back,
Yes.
a hydroelectric plant was also installed
Yes.
there. Does the town benefit at all
No.
from the generation of that electricity?
They do not, the city benefits from that, you know, it offsets our energy costs. We looked into it one time of other areas in the town where we could, on town property, put some solar installations and tap into that transmission line, but that transmission line is at capacity. So we don't benefit at all. Yes?
I feel really stupid asking this question, but could you clarify to me, what is affordable workforce housing?
So when you look at housing, you look at the area median income. And you look at our income and you say, here it is. I don't have that number in hand right now. But let's say in the town of Olive, it's for a family of two. Let's say it's $75,000. Just yes. Okay. If you make less than that, you can determine for your affordability how much less of that would you consider to be affordable. The town can set that number. 80% of the AMI installed. 60%, some towns go down as low as 30 or 40% of the AMI makes you eligible. You know, any of those numbers, like that, you're that or below. A lot of people bring it up high because the area median income in our town has risen dramatically in the last 5 to 10 years. So we might be 80% of the AMI or more. Some towns go 110%. That is decided when you decide to enact whatever housing program you want. It can be done in the whole kind of policy of the town, all that one broad umbrella, or it can be per project. And so you look at that and you say, okay, if you make this much money, how much would 25% or 30% of your income would have to go toward your housing costs? What could you afford per year for a house. And you look at that, you can determine what a house should cost you. And you're not gonna find that probably here for affordable workforce housing. For people that make under $100,000 a year, it's really hard to buy a house here. So the area house price in the town of Olive is $450,000. So there are ways to look at that, and there are other organizations like Habitat for Humanity who you can partner with and try to encourage a developer who wants to develop on a site. You can't develop there unless you put a house or two or three or four or whatever that project could withstand. And it has to be affordable on this much of the AMI so that somebody can afford it. In when we met with them about 2 years ago, they were telling us that they could, if they had a site with water and sewer on it, they could put in a house for $150,000 to $200,000. They take loans out for their properties for 90 years. So if someone were to go into that home, that housing, they'd have to qualify by whatever income you set, and the payment for that can only be affordable for them. At $150,000 to $200,000, you should be able to reach that. And then that person cannot sell that house for anything more than the cost of living.
They also help the prospective buyer who's qualified.
Right.
There's a certain amount of time that they have to give to Habitat for Humanity to help work on the house.
Right. A lot of times they set conditions like that. I know that they like small lots because they told us that 90% of their clients are single mom with kids.
So
it's
the
important.
operative word workforce
Yes.
in the middle of that pertains to the median income level of working people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then you can also take that and mix it. You can say, we want, if it's, let's say there's 6 units, you can say, we want one of them to be somebody who's at 30%, one house, or 30 to 40 or 30 to 50 or whatever, somebody who really has low income. And you can mix it up and put different income levels in that house. It's very flexible on whatever way you want to do it per unit, per development, if that ever happens. And I say if that ever happens because then you have to say, who's going to come to the town of Olive and invest money for low income housing when there's not a lot of density? So it's a lot of work, I feel, that we're putting into it. I don't know how much it will yield. I hope it yields things because presently there are approximately 425 people per night housed temporarily in the county of Ulster. And those are people who work in our stores and do our service industries and things like that. So if you look at that number, and we had a guy who was living in a car last winter with the motor running so he could work in a store. These are real problems for real people, and if we don't, all the towns don't do something to address it, the cost for the labor that those jobs perform is going to go up because you're going to get people who live an hour and a half away to come and work at the store here for $15, $20 an hour. You're going to have to pay more to come here to attract them. So it's a vicious cycle that if we bury our heads, my feeling is if we bury our heads in the sand, we're going to end up it's going to be so expensive to live here that it'll be unaffordable for most of all of those people if it isn't now. So it's a serious problem that I think we all have to work together on. How do we do this, and how do we do it in a way that fits into our community so that it's not a big housing development, but it's small pockets of housing throughout the community. Maybe we can attract a developer to come in and put a 4-unit building here. Keep in mind our zoning code presently only allows like a 2-family house. That's it. You can't build a store with an apartment over it. We don't have mixed use.
So how did Rupco build Plum Grove Heights?
That back then, I think it was, I don't know when that was built, but they were able to do that. They got a variance, I don't know what
They changed the zoning code.
Mhm.
They added that to the zoning code.
Oh, for affordable for seniors, right? Yeah, you're right. So there are ways to do this, I think, that will not overwhelm this town and will not become like a large density. We're never going to have a 100-unit building You know, in Olive, it's just not gonna work here, we won't allow that. So we're looking at ways to figure out ways to get people in that need housing, but also figure out ways to keep it scaled to the right size for all. These are our kids and our families and people we know. Yes, Erin?
I think the term workforce housing is the new term for low-income housing.
Well, it depends on how you, we've bandied about those terms. It started out as low income, and we banded it around, but low income right now is people that work for the town, for people that work in the Boyceville market, for people that we rely on to provide goods and services for us. So whatever way you want to term it, people find that offensive sometimes. Yeah.
How are you going to keep, if any housing goes up, affordable housing? What is the process of keeping the millionaire weekenders from purchasing this affordable housing for our local community?
So people buy property, they have the right to do what they want. Okay, so I can't say to people you can't build your $1 million house. Although I will say, in the last 3 to 4 years, nearly every building permit for a new home in town of Olive has been about $1 million or more. So we have this problem. We can't prevent that, but we're looking at things in the zoning, and again, we're not out with this, it's in discussion phase. We're looking at things like if you want to come in and buy a 100-acre property and subdivide it into 20-acre lots for your $2 million homes, you've got to provide a couple of affordable homes in that. And we'll let you have smaller lot size to do that, like maybe a cluster of Habitat for Humanity homes. So there's things like that. There's other things that we could look at where we could do, I believe, we're looking into this, maybe a mortgage tax, where the mortgage, when a sale happens and a mortgage is taken out, that a certain fund is built up to be able to provide housing. This housing is not going to happen the way we're going right now. There's got to be an effort to say that we're going to build some. It's not going to disappear.
I just want to comment on the question that I heard. Were you saying what will stop people, exceptionally wealthy people, from coming and scooping up the houses that are?
That's pretty
Yeah,
much
so that's what I think you missed, that she was saying, what's gonna stop people from buying those affordable housing?
Oh,
Isn't
yeah.
it a matter of they have to qualify?
They have to qualify, yeah, they have to qualify. We're also looking at, and I'm not sure, we're still looking at the legality of this, of how to create this kind of policy that if people were to qualify for it, they would, what criteria would you select them from? And we're looking at, you would give a point system. I think New Paltz has something like this, where if you lived in the county for 2 or 3 years, you'd get a point. If you were a volunteer, first responder, you'd get points. If you worked for the school district or municipality, you get points. So there's ways you can do that, but I have to look into it a little more because there might be restrictions of doing that with different funding sources. Come on, you all came out tonight. You gotta- Man,
Could you give an update on short-term rentals, STRs, like how many in total, how many owner occupied, and I'm particularly interested in how enforcement is going, or do
Okay.
you have to do enforcement, what is the kind of STR?
so the short-term rental law that we have in our town is one of the, if not the strictest in the county. If you look at our surrounding towns, in Shandaken, they have 300 to 400 permitted. If you look at Rochester, they have over 300 permitted. Last year, we had 76 permitted, and this year, we just finished our permitting tomorrow. We do renewals at the end of the year, the last 2 months of the year, November, December, for people that already had permits, and then January, February are for new permits. Those are only allowed for residents, full-time residents, because we will know, we set the cap at our January organizational meeting, and we cap the non-resident SCRs. This year, I'm gonna be off a number or two, so don't hold it to me, but this year, I think we set the cap at like 25 to 26, and last year, we had a total of 76 permitted. This year, we now have 54.
Is
So
that
the short
total or?
total, So, and that's about split, it's about 27, something like that. And we inspect them every year. We do residency requirement, we used to do it every year, we don't do it every year. We got some feedback, it was pretty onerous, and how do we enforce it? We hear from people that there's some nuisance in their neighborhood, we look for them. We also have an agreement with the county for a software thing that scours short-term rental sites like Airbnb and VRBNO and all that stuff. And we scour that and we get a list, not very accurate, but the county's coming up with a new software. In a few months, they're gonna get a new vendor. And we look at that and we track these people down. Our fine is also $500 a day operating without a permit, and we've gotten several violations over the last 2 years. They don't like it when you give them a $1,000 fine. One of them was caught when a CO2 alarm went off, and the fire department went to the house, and there was 4 young ladies. On a weekend, they came to have a nice time, and there was a gas leak in the house, and it was an unpermitted short-term rental. And that one ended up, we fined them, and the owners sold the house within 6 months. So it doesn't lend itself to anybody. They sold it for the market value, which is not going to put an affordable house on the market, but at least it's going to put another house on the market. Mr. Pohl.
I'm a short-term rental owner,
Yes.
and I just want to speak on my behalf and all the good guys in town that follow the rules, and also to your question. I've said that the other day about on the sustainable tourism meeting at the Interpretive Center. You were there. Just 1 or 2 points. Short-term rental owners get a bad reputation. Not from everybody. Sometimes unjustly so. When I hear there's 300, 400, or 200 properties in the neighboring town, tells you one thing: there's a lot of competition. Because everybody thinks they have a piece of property or a room, whatever, they can turn it around into a pot of gold. That it just doesn't happen. The only one who really makes money on this is Airbnb and VRBO. Mm-hmm. They charge a fortune, up to 30% on top per night, which makes it expensive. Our friends in Ulster County have just raised the taxes. We went from 2% to 4%, but then they initiated and added on the sales tax portion that is combined state, county. So now we have 14%. That was within a year. Now granted, the renter pays that. And so we are on par with hotel rooms, although we're not really businesses. It's a hobby. I'm not a hotel chain. I'm not Marriott that has XYZ many rooms, staff, properties to make this a cash flow issue. And last but not least, it is a lot of work. It is a hobby of ours. We like it. We like it that way because it's a guest house for the family or for friends that stay for a month or so. And we'll follow the rules, and hopefully we'll bring people that eventually settle here, that come regularly, that can use the pool or go swimming. So it does provide a benefit also to the community. Not everybody always sees it, and there's bad apples. And the problem with the bad apples is they make the headline. They make the headline in local paper, and everybody says, these people, they allow it. We had some kids staying there. They were sitting by the fire at night at 1 o'clock. They were singing, they were drunk. I had to go over and I said, kids, dial it down. I don't want to get the phone call. That our Airbnb is like the one that makes a lot of noise.
Great.
That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Now, it is true that there is an economic advantage to having short-term rentals. And what we found is that we want to find the threshold of where it works in our town. We don't want to overwhelm it. We don't want to be 300 or 200. And bringing it down helps your competition.
And yes, Airbnb and Vrbo in the low months instantly sends a message out lower your price.
Yeah.
Guess what they do? They send it to everybody.
Right.
And I'm on an interest group, and if you drop it, say, by 30%, you make it bad for everybody in the room.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So now everybody is expecting lower prices. And at the end of the day, if we were to rent this house long-term, we'll make more money. We would make more money annually, hands down. Again, it's a hobby of mine, I like it that way, and it stays that way. Plus, I don't want to move all the furniture out, etc. So, just for your information.
You know, the housing thing, the short-term rental thing is tied to it somewhat. There's no one evil genie in this, it's a lot of different things. Housing in our lifetimes went from being where you lived in your home and you grew up with, and your parents grew up there and your grandparents, to now being a commodity, okay? And I think that's a conflict. And I think we've all taken to that where it's an investment and a commodity to sell and make money and make retirement money on. So I think the value of the home has lessened to that effect. And we have to figure out a way to keep the people in our community who volunteer for things and who grew up here. A lot of young people can work from home now. There's a little more opportunity for people to stay in the area, but the housing is. The other thing that drives the housing is that there's a shortage of housing. In Ulster County, there's not a lot of homes on the market at any given time since COVID. Yeah.
I have one other question,
Sure.
entirely unrelated.
You didn't have a question before, you had.
Well, I wanted to ask you this, I can ask it in this forum. Is there a way to invite NICEAG into our town versus Central Hudson? I know NICEAG.
No, it's not like that, sorry.
Okay.
And
They have their own issues.
it always looks greener on the other side too, I'll tell you.
No.
Or Delaware County, they complain about it all the time.
Oh, okay. But their charge per kilowatt hour is like a fraction of what we pay.
Which is unusual because they're both getting it on the open market. So it should be comparable, but I don't know why. Next question, comments?
And
Can I say
cheaper.
something?
Yeah, sure.
Central Hudson doesn't charge you what your kilowatt hours are, your ESCO does.
Well,
But
I'm
their
looking at the
delivery
combined.
charge,
I'm looking
you
at the
can
combined.
pick your ESCO.
Yeah, but the ESCO isn't what drives up the price. The line, the delivery charge
Yes,
is
the
what goes
delivery
up
charges, yes.
dramatically.
Yeah, insane.
Mr. and Mrs. Central Hudson.
Yeah, we still pay a meter fee to them, too, having solar panels. So,
I
yes.
just started to do the same thing.
All right, somebody else has got to have a comment here. Mr. Wolf?
Just a comment again. Now that they're taking care of the rail trail parking in Shokan, it is much nicer there.
Thank you for your concern with that and letting the executive know and the county know.
But the fact that we do have tourists that come through here, you didn't mention anything about the tourism, but the county appears to be a little, say, anti-tourism as far as the railroad coming up to meet the rail trail. They want to end it in the middle of Route 28 somewhere down there. But it is much nicer having that mowed and cleaned up on a monthly basis or whenever they're doing it. You aren't stepping out into a.
It's nice to hear a nice comment like that. Thank you.
Well, I always try to have a nice comment, but nothing was ever done. Everybody was crying. I can't mow it. You're gonna kill the butterflies. I mean, come on, let's go.
All right. Anybody else? Yes, Kathy?
What's the status of the development, is it Mountain Road, where their water, they were having water
They have
issues?
there is Mountain, what's the name of that road? Mountain Valley Road, I think
It's Mountain Valley.
is a private development that was built in the, let's say, late 70s or early 80s, just before I got in there. And the road going in is a private road. The whole infrastructure is private. And they put in a private water system. And it's owned by a company that owns several water systems throughout the county. And I've been in a discussion with the county executive and the county health department about it. They periodically go for long periods of time without water. They went this past fall for, I think it was like 40-some days without water around Thanksgiving. It was really awful. And there are cases that we've supported and the county supported that went through before the Public Service Commission. The Public Service Commission seems very weak on this. They don't seem to be able to have any kind of leverage. Their recommendation was that the owners sell the company. And if you have a company that you haven't maintained for years, it's kind of hard to sell it. We are looking at, I know that an engineer went in to look at that to see if he could, for the owner, to see if he can help make that system a little bit more viable. They have an arsenic problem in the water. Arsenic is natural in the water, and in certain areas of the Catskills, it's very at high levels. So they filter that out, and their filters, I don't know whether or not changed often enough, or there's an inadequate filtering system, or what, but that's what they need to address to make that water better. Anything else? Oh, come on.
I mean, I
We're
have
just
one,
started.
I'm a
Come
little
on, man.
bashful to mention it, especially for recording.
Yeah, okay.
The porta potty over at the reservoir at the promenade is like, I don't know why, but it's very gross. And I had a guest in town recently and brought the person there and he used it and he said, that's literally the grossest porta potty I've ever seen. And I was, anyway, I don't know who is the right person to talk to.
I think the thing when you bring a guest to the town of Olive, I don't think you want to make it more. That's what I'm getting at.
My partner's parents.
But I will
friends,
mention to
like,
DEC.
I don't know.
I went by the other
I keep
day.
forgetting to mention it.
I saw them pumping it out the other day.
Oh, really? No.
Who knows?
I don't know if I am alone.
Okay, well, I'll talk to John Milgram about that.
You can edit that out.
No, that's a
All
good
right.
one.
Any other porta potties in town? Yes?
About the couple, with the rail trails, the roadway and pedestrian sidewalk project, is that, I mean.
Oh, on 28A?
They're going great guns, and I'm wondering.
Yeah, they are like 95% complete. They have to make all the connectivity with the rail trail to the sidewalk that goes up into Boyceville, and then clean up all that big pile of dirt they got there, and they have to redo the parking lot. So that'll take place in the spring.
Is that gonna be accessible, even, like, people start, I think people are starting to kind of meander down there, not obviously there's a lot of snow, but is it gonna be an announcement when it's like officially open?
I hope so, yeah, we're hoping to get it done.
You're getting away from
Bye. Bye. Boy. Very judgmental. Yeah.
We're still in the potty training phase.
Oh, that's all right. That project will be done, will be completed in the spring. They were supposed to have a ribbon cutting in the fall, but that never happened. That should be pretty nice once it gets in. And there has been discussions with myself and the county exec and the former DEP commissioner to get a electric vehicle charging station there. And we'll see if that happens.
Any chance of it, there's ways that they could actually clear part of the rail trail from the snow, because they do it on other trails.
Well, you can talk to the county about that, Kathy.
Hey.
No,
Yeah, we can't even.
I don't think they're gonna groom trails, and I
No.
don't think they're gonna take care of that, because once they start that, it becomes a liability issue, and I don't think they're gonna wanna be putting de-icing on the trail and salt and things like that. So,
Drag something, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know, you start that and you have a ice.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
I don't, there's a lot going on, so maybe this isn't, but I was at a dog park.
The dog park is something that has come up in conversation many times. A lot of people look at it and they say, a dog park means, fencing, a little bit of liability issue with dogs running loose, and then the cleaning project, and, part of it. We have to find a place that wasn't sensitive. We looked at it in Boyceville, whether we wanted to do a dog park in Boyceville, and it was kind of dismissed as it's not feasible there. But the other perspective that people have is there's a lot of places to take your dog around outside here, but it would be nice, I'm a dog lover, it would be nice
Not
someplace.
fenced.
Yeah, keep that on the radar, for sure. Yes,
So below the reservoir is kind of like a different state when you look at Olive. You know, we have no business down there, we have
what
no,
do you mean, below the reservoir?
28A and towards
South side.
209, the
Yes.
southern part of this town, southern or east, eastern part, right?
So the town goes over just beyond the area, you know, like, only like half a mile beyond it.
But, you know, we've got no business there at all. We've got, you know, technically we're a food restaurant down there. So I wonder if the town has any program to kind of bring in some, you know, small, you know, businesses that, you know, we can use a grocery store.
Well, we're not in the grocery store business, but we encourage it, but that takes private development.
Well, what does it take to make it attractive to bring in some business?
Well, if you look at the comp plan, we did talk to people in the hamlets and what they want, and it seemed like all the hamlets wanted a little bit more robust economic activity in them. So, we can look at that and see if somebody comes in to try to encourage that. I don't know how we can do that from a policy way or, a kind of individual way, but we're certainly open to it. We're not trying to stress it. And we can also make the hamlets, beautify them and make it more attractive places. I don't have another answer for you.
I mean, we don't have any incentives or anything like that?
No, we don't.
Towns are
No.
running business?
No, we don't do that. We don't have that. The county might, right? The county has economic development. We do, the CWC has an economic development part in the watershed part of the, actually, it's for the whole town. What's that?
That's above the red, what we.
No, the entire town is eligible for it, which would give business owners low interest loans. So that's available.
And there's a lower Asoka stream management plan that includes trying to build up some of the recreational opportunities. And sometimes that's a start, and then you get a little business that is related to the recreational activity. So I get you the contact information to work with that group. It'd be good to have that kind of feedback into it of how to get the economic piece of it as well as the ecologic and the recreational.
Wasn't there something in the comprehensive plan that entertained the idea to redesign Shokan Plaza, reroute 28, or no, reroute more main traffic, make Shokan Plaza more like a village type street with...
I'm gonna let Drew hit that one, I don't remember. There was a really old, prior one of the draft,
That was an old
20 years ago or something. There was a comprehensive plan that talked about rerouting 28, but that's not in our comprehensive plan.
Would be a nice idea.
What about that? Anything else? Yes, Bob?
This, just out of curiosity, is it to the town's advantage to have more private residences in ratio to rentals, including Airbnbs? Is it to our advantage to have more than that? I'm not considering the affordable housing for local employees. It's just, does it provide an advantage for the town to have a higher ratio of private residences, tax-wise
That's a hard one to figure, but I would, my gut tells me yes, you want to have more homes. But my experience tells me that more homes in our environment doesn't help the people that need homes. But one of the things that I had a conversation with the town clerk about this the other day, is that there are people in our town who rent multi-unit buildings at affordable prices. And they do it because maybe they have long-term tenants and they like them, or they're satisfied with a certain amount of return on their investment, and who aren't greedy. How do we encourage that kind of home in a rental market? And the other home of buying a home is, and I keep bringing it back to affordable because I'm not inclined to encourage more housing necessarily for people who aren't from here or work around here. I don't wanna attract more people into the area for that. I don't think it's to our advantage. I think we're gonna, you know.
I wasn't suggesting building more,
Right.
but usurping some of the rentals into private residences.
It depends. The rental certainly provides a certain market for people that can't afford. You know, there are, like I said, there's renters I know who rent, like, you know, out of one bedroom for $1,000 a month. You know, they started at $800 a month a couple years ago, and it's $1,000 now, and it's still way below the market, you know.
I know there are trade-offs there.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, the rental market's tough. You know, there's not a lot of rentals out here, and there's a lot of people looking for housing. I was on Route 28 about 2 years ago, driving down Route 28, and I saw this person come out and put a rental sign in front of the house. And I was like, oh, I know somebody looking for one. And I did a U-turn, don't tell the police, on 28, and came back to take a picture of the sign. And while I was there, somebody else stopped and took a picture of the sign. I mean, the sign was up for 5 minutes at best. So there's a huge demand here. The demand is outstripping our ability to provide housing for people, the people we need to be here. And I just mean that by people who work here. I don't know if I answered your question. I don't know if I can answer your question, but I wouldn't be inclined to encourage housing for higher end or medium end. Medium end is $450,000 for a house. So that means you're making probably, you know, I'd have to look at the numbers, but you're making well over $100,000 to afford that.
Jim?
Yes.
What's the sense of full-time residents in the town now versus people who are here only on holidays and the weekends? It's tipped over 50%?
You know, if you go into the records here, back before the reservoir was built, it was always around 50%. And it probably still is around that number, maybe more, probably a little more part-time residents. I know that I saw one survey that came out from about a year or so ago that in Olive, 1 of every 4 homes, nearly 1, like 23% of the homes, are vacant most of the week. 23-year housing stock is vacant. So, you know, when I ran for supervisors over 6 years ago, it was October 2019, I was out knocking doors. And you know, you go out when your first time being a supervisor, you're out for like, what are you for? You know, like, I'm for transparency, I'm for, you know, sustainability, all these big words that like really don't mean anything until you get in the weeds of them. And the fellow I was talking to was Bob Studi, who wrote The Last of the Handmaid Dames. He's a SUNY professor, and he wrote a history book on the Catskills. And I asked him, I said, Bob, what do you think the big problems here that we face? And he said, now keep in mind, this is 2019, about 4 months before COVID hit here. And he said, we have all the trappings because of our proximity to New York City, the increased interest in outdoor recreational opportunities, and the cost of our housing to become like Vail, Colorado, where if you live in this town and work for an hourly wage, you're going to live an hour and a half away and come here to clean somebody's toilets. And I was like, wow, that's a bold statement. And then COVID happened. And that's exactly where we are today. The model we have for housing is not sustainable in our community. For what we cherish in our community now. Anybody else?
I have a follow-up to that question.
Yes.
So how is that putting stress on volunteer services in the town with the influx of people who don't live here but still require ambulance and fire and all the emergencies?
So we're fortunate to have a really robust fire department. Our fire department is probably the best in Ulster County. We have 75 or more volunteers for a town of 4,200 people, many of whom are part-time. And you go to like Shandaken, they have much less, you know, volunteers on their fire department. Our fire department spends a tremendous amount of time doing mutual aid to the other towns for fires. We went to Woodstock with that house fire over the winter. You know, our firemen were out there all night, freezing temperatures, and what I learned from talking to the fire chief about that was, it's not only the manpower, when you have a condition like that when it's freezing, you've got to then take the trucks and bring them to a firehouse so they can, get warm before you put the water in. So you have to maintain the temperature in the truck so it doesn't freeze. And so now you're not only managing manpower, you're managing he said that, after that fire he got off and he took off his stuff and it stood upright. It was all frozen. These are volunteers. We have a good volunteer at the fire department. We struggle to get people for the first aid, which is a paying position, but it pays like I think $21 or $22 an hour, and it's part-time. We have other organizations that are struggling for volunteers. There's organizations that are kind of dying out because they don't have volunteers, garden clubs and things like that. The town needs that. One of our board members, Sarah Hemingway Lynch, is looking at putting together with the town of Shandaken kind of a non-official town thing, but the town will coordinate with Shandaken to have like opportunities to get groups of people together to do volunteer days, to like encourage people to sign up, let them know what the volunteer positions are available in the area. You're talking about coaches for softball and Little League and the basketball and Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts and all that stuff. That's really hard. There was a while that we didn't have a Boy Scout thing in the town of Olive because there was nobody to do it. So, if we want to maintain the character of our town in many ways, that would be an important thing for people to step up and volunteer. And there is a big push from the state to get young people off their devices and out and interacting with people through sports and cultural events. And I'm hoping that we can do that in the town. Yeah. Dave.
Back to the idea of affordable or attainable housing. We always talk about we need more affordable and attainable housing. Is there a way we can develop an actual target for how much we feel like we need so we can build toward it?
So we don't build. This is private developers.
Can we move toward it? Not we wouldn't build. We need that. Can we? Here's the point. Can we develop? And this is maybe a Drew thing, a comprehensive plan thing. Can we move past saying we need more attainable housing and actually figure out, okay, what are we trying to get to in terms of the number of units of attainable housing?
I think that there's so many variables in that in terms of the market, because you need an investor to come in who is experienced in affordable housing and getting the funding for that, and then trying to work within the constraints the town's going to put on the scale and size of that. So trying to come up with a number, I don't think is valuable, because I don't think we're ever going to achieve the number that we probably need. I think we need way more than we're ever going to get. I tell people we're working really hard on affordable housing. If at the end of the day we get 6 units out of it, we'll be lucky, because it's hard. Their models tend to be toward larger scale units. So trying to find somebody who has a mission statement for smaller scale development and come into our town, like Habitat or private developers, it's a lot of work. I don't think we're ever going to come to like, we're not hitting, we're hitting our goal and we got to stop. I think it's going to be quite the opposite, that we're never going to achieve the goal. And coming up with a number isn't even worth the time. Yes.
Jim, you just remind me, the county does have a program for accessory dwelling units.
Yes.
Where if you want to go that direction for your property, you can get the designs and you can construct at a very reasonable price and have tax rebate sort of situation for many years.
Right.
Do you know if people in Olive have taken advantage of that?
You have to be income qualified for that. Okay, the property owner has to be income qualified. The person who takes the ADU has to be income qualified. You have to keep it at a certain market, a certain rate for affordability. The problem we had 2 people. One withdrew, and one was going through the process, and the funding wasn't enough because the utilities didn't hook up their sewer for an outside building, and the funding paid for the actual building, but she didn't have the money because she qualified for to have the program. She didn't have an extra $30,000 to throw in a septic system or tie into a sewer. She didn't have it. So that's been the barrier that I've seen.
Sounds like we should tweak that, we should talk.
Absolutely, yeah. So ADUs are allowed, accessory dwelling units, we allow that in our town to encourage housing. And the program Kathy's talking about is a grant funding program that encourages that. But there's also, if you're a private owner, you can put with all the building code restrictions, and if you meet everything that you have to do to build anything, you can put a studio over your garage. That wasn't allowed, 3 or 4 years ago, Drew, we did that. We tried to get on this really early with the short-term rental and the ADU allowances in the town. But we haven't seen it too much. Sorry about that. Feel like I left y'all on a downer there. But other than that, the town is doing great. Any other questions? Let's wrap it up, huh? Thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate your time.